Well, hello, Diet Rebel Scum and Diet Rebel Scum Curious. Diet Rebel Scum being those of us who have taken the government recommended food pyramid and said, to hell with that. We're not eating that high carb, low fat garbage. We believe in high fat, low carb. Did I get that right? I need to start practicing that. Really, I should read it. Food pyramid, high carb, low fat. Reading, high fat, low carb. That's what I mean, if that's not what I said earlier. Okay, it's been a while since I've done a video from my proper studio, or it's getting to be more proper. I'm cleaning up this room little bit by little bit. I've got a nice, well, it's nice is a relative term, isn't it? Cover that hideous closet back there. So, okay. I'm just going to talk a little bit. I'm tired. I got to go to bed here pretty soon. It's late where I'm at here in the central United States. It's 9:57. It's almost 10 o'clock. So, and I got to get up at 4:30. I'm running with my running partners in the morning. But I wanted to talk about today. Do you remember, if you saw a few videos ago, I talked about how I'm waiting for a breakthrough run. And what I mean by that, and I don't know, other runners may have the same definition of it. It's not something that I looked up to see if it's a concept. I know it's a concept, but it's like you're doing your training, you're slugging it out every day, and you've got a plan, or maybe you don't. Like I ran for many years without a plan. I run with more of a plan these days because I listen to coaches and stuff online. Now there's so many good running coaches out there that's got a lot of experience, and I've just decided the no pain no gain thing might not be all it was cracked up to be, because that's how that was in the running community big time back in the 80s, like almost all eras. I think there's always a segment of runners that are like no pain no gain. You know, every run is hard, and anyway, you can really plateau, and you know you're not gaining anything, and that's what was happening to me the last couple of years. I ran quite a few marathons over the last 3 years, and there's a huge stagnation. But of course, there's that wild card that was thrown at us by the medical industrial complex, Big Pharma, that kind of jinxed a lot of things. Yeah. So it's a big wild card. We don't know, if you're having troubles, you don't know if it's a pharmaceutical product you took, or if you dabble in recreational drugs. There's all kinds of factors out there, and it kind of muddies the waters. So it's hard to know what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and yeah, it screws up things. Okay, so back to Breakthrough Run. I have been doing some speed work lately, and that was something that was lacking in my last few marathons, where I'm like a 4-hour marathoner these days, and it seemed like no matter how disciplined my running was, I was running very consistently in each marathon. I was piling in more mileage before each marathon, getting the longer runs in, but I wasn't going any faster than the marathon before. Well, there's a little bit of an exception. The first of my last 4 marathons, I ran it's like 4 hours and 23 minutes or something. Yeah, something like that. 4 hours 23 minutes, I believe it was, something there. 4 hours and 20 something. I really was cratering at the end of that one, but my next 3 were right at 4 hours. I didn't whittle down. I wasn't whittling my time down. And when you're a 4-hour marathoner, well, there's a lot of, that's where you get the little old ladies passing you, or the big tall guys with a gut that look like they are running the marathon because they lost a bet with their buddies and stuff. And it's like, here I am, like really trim, and I'm sitting there running along, and I'm like, God, I trained hard for this. And I got these people that are like out of shape, like just trudging past me. Yeah, makes you really wonder. So, but, big but. So, I've been incorporating some hill work, and kind of charging up hills fast, repeated over and over again. Charging down the hills pretty fast over and over again. Doing some repeat 200-yard dashes kind of thing. Really trying to train my slow, and I've always had slow legs, but not slow marathon wise. I could cruise, back, like I say, I've said a million times, my cruising pace back in the day was 7 minutes a mile. I didn't even have to try. And I could run 7 minutes a mile for a long way. I could do that 8 miles without even it might have been, I might have been having to think about it in the last few miles just to make sure I don't slow down. But it was nothing that was ever hard. All through my 20s, 30s, and even like my early 40s, 7 minutes a mile was freaking pretty, standard for my just 4 miles, 4 miles a day, just maintaining shape, not even training for a race. I'd go 7:15 at the slowest, probably back then. And but now 9 minutes a mile is my kind of cruising along pace. And if I want to average like 8:30, I have to, it's a struggle even after training for 4 freaking marathons over the last year and a half or so. So it's just this weird big slowdown, huge cardio hit that it seems it was around 2021. But I'm not all doom and gloom. I like to be a little bit optimistic if I can. So, disciplined with the diet. I did have that peanut failure, candy-coated peanut failure last night. But I ran today, so that's what I'm sharing here on my screen. This is my Garmin Connect account. So, yeah, I did 4.03 miles. It was an average of 9:27, but that was including some walking. So what I was doing was, over here, okay, now here's where I'm going to talk about it being possibly a breakthrough. Here was the breakthrough. I think this was a breakthrough run. I may call it a mild breakthrough run. It's a mild breakthrough run. I've got a better criteria what I'm looking for when I have a real breakthrough run. When I'll be like, yes, this is awesome, because I know I will have gained some kind of good cardio and some speed. But here's where I was like, hey, I should be feeling pretty bad right now, and I'm not. It was a warm up. Like, I was going along. This is my start. Was this my start? No. Here's the play. Oh, that's the end. Okay, it's been a while. I don't really analyze my runs like this very often. So you can hit play and it'll track it. But anyway, I started off and I did a mile warm up, and this is a straight off uphill to this point. So it seems like that's almost half a mile or so, something like that. And it's like up a hill, so it's really not a good way to warm up, because you're already like having to work hard just to move. But that was the very beginning. I was like, hey, I'm kind of bouncing along kind of nicely. Now, I did get some new shoes recently, and I'm not one of those that believes that shoes just turn you into a great runner. But I did buy some. They are the is it ASICS Super Blast? It's whoever makes the Super Blast, because I bounced around. You would think a real runner would know what brand of shoes he bought, but when you've been bouncing around brands like Ultra, Zero Drop, I've had 3 pair of those in recent years. I still drug out my Newtons once in a while, and then went to Brooks Adrenalines. I think it's Brooks. Yeah, Brooks makes the Adrenaline. Anyway, I was bounced around all over, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, my gel Kayanos. Kayano, I just retired those. I put almost 600 miles on those. I was very proud of myself, because that's what I used to do back in my 20s. Boy, I would put close to 1,000 miles on a pair of Nike Air Maxes back in the day. That really dates me. So anyway, I took off and did a mile warm-up. And then when I got around, the end of the mile, okay, see this is repeated over and over and over again, and it's all red. Well, that means I was going faster. The way Garmin Connect does the color coding, it's like the cooler the temperature gets down to blue. Blue's slow, red is fast. Like you're going really intense. So over here is a long downhill and back uphill because it's kind of an industrial area. These are like government buildings. Our state capitol building is right here. But back over here, there's like another, Oklahoma Department of Transportation and stuff. But anyway, this long north-south road here has a very nice, and it's not super, super steep. It's gentle. In fact, it kind of like dips. So I better do it sideways like this, you see. So it kind of goes down, and then it just slowly levels out at the bottom. And then if I keep going, from here, here's the top of the hill, and it goes downhill, and then it flattens out about here. And that's where I was stopping, because I was just going to repeat over on the hill. Ran up, and then I would walk about, 1 minute. I'd walk over here, come back, and then I would run down it fast. And when I say fast, I mean fast for me. Fast for me is 6:15 per mile pace. That is like a good brisk, like it's not sprinting. I can move my legs a little faster than that, but it's faster than my would be. Like if I were to run a 5K today and really race it hard, I would be tickled pink to average 650 per mile. So I'm not sure what pace I was doing there, but that's about what I was trying to do, and I was just doing it by feel. And I think I was there because my maximum, let's see, this is something I can always look at. My maximum speed that I reached was, where is it on here? I'm used to looking at it on my phone all the time. Moving time, moving pace, let's see, average, am I blind? I may be blind because I'm not wearing my bifocals. Okay, there we go. Average pace. Okay, best pace was 5:45 per mile. That was probably one of the downhills. In fact, I guarantee it was on the downhill. It's probably getting close to the end of the downhill when I was getting close to the water flooding possible. There's like a sign down there. I think that part at the bottom of that hill floods when it rains real heavy, and I think that's what these signs are. But anyway, I just used that as a marker to end, and that's my starting to go back up the hill. So it was probably around there. So I know I'm getting those. My legs are getting a little faster just because I'm not having to try as hard to get that kind of max speed on from my Garmin, reported after I get back. I'm like, hey, I actually ran a 5:45 pace somewhere in there. It's like I wasn't even trying to go that fast. I was just trying to run 6 something, So it's kind of nice to have an accidental sub 6 pace for some distance in there somewhere. But okay, back to where I was like, hey, I'm actually not feeling as bad as I should. And that centers around 2 things. It was like my second or third trip going up the hill. So on my second or third or fourth, maybe repeat, where I was down and back up. Now I read another little detail here about the speed work. I was resting at the ends of both. So when I got to the bottom, I didn't turn immediately around and charge back up. The downhill was one of the repeats. So I rested after that. So I would walk for like a minute. So I was getting total recovery. I was, back down to where I was ready to go again, full blast. Well, full as I was doing, as the effort I was shooting for, that I could repeat and I could get that same effort in every time. I wasn't like flailing and just, dying at the end. You're really supposed to do these speed works in a real controlled fashion, really consistent effort. You're really not supposed to kill yourself out there. Somehow that can be detrimental, and I forgot what the explanation is, but so anyway, I'm following that philosophy. And, but anyway, yes, on one of those, I remember it was on an uphill. I was going up, and my legs were feeling pretty damn good. Like I wasn't having to struggle to go up the hill at 97 degrees outside. See, I had already been out for a while. I'd already run a mile, and I was very sweaty, and even in my 30s. Okay, I'm getting heat acclimated, like more heat acclimated than I've ever been in my life. And now I think it's not only just the speed work. Now, I had to do a lot of mowing this last weekend, and I was out on an acre of property that the wife and I own that had gotten way overgrown. The wavy grasses got up to like 6 feet in some places, long, and I had to hack all that down. And an acre is not a big piece of land to people that live on big giant acreages, that own big tractors that can mow it. They have these gigantic mowing machines. Well, I don't have that. I've just got a regular riding mower, and you can't cut that stuff down with a riding mower. You have to hack it down with some kind of like weed whacking tool, which I have one of those too. But it's a hand push one. So this is like slow. It's not a giant piece of farm equipment. This is like a residential, or something like a landscaper would have on his truck. Like if somebody had a backyard in a city, so like small backyard, but it was just way overgrown. Well, a landscaper might have one of these instead of using his regular weed whacker that he holds in his hands and, has to hold up with his arms. This is like a lawnmower that you push behind, but it's got a horizontal spinning giant piece of cord, to actually 4 pieces that spin, and it'll just hack down big weeds, and you're not tearing up a nice mower blade. Anyway, that's what I was using. So it took me 3.5 days, and I was out in the heat of the day. So it was in the 90s, full sun. All of those days, very few clouds. I only had a little bit of occasional cloud cover, like on the on the last half day. So after the 3 days, it was the very last day I was out there. There were intermittent clouds that were covering, but I was done with all the mowing. I was using a hand axe and like cutting down little baby trees that were starting to grow up where we didn't want trees. So, right up to the neighbor's fence, so I didn't want trees growing into that fence, destroying the fence. So I was just hand cracking it up. But I had 3 full days of just sweating and fully covered. I didn't use sunblock, so I was in a full long sleeve shirt, and the humidity was pretty high. And I would drink about a gallon and a half of water with sea salt, and in it with I do use magnesium citrate and potassium citrate. So I do use eat those too. I mix those in my water on a regular basis. And I tell you what, even though I didn't run any of those days, I wasn't exercising running wise, but I was exercising like, at least like upper body. I was like pushing the weed whacker in the weeds, and I would have to pull. And my land is not totally flat everywhere. There's a water drainage ditch, along the road that's 150 feet long. That's really steep on both sides, and I was hacking down the weeds in there too. So there was a lot of lowering that mower down into the weeds and pulling it back up the hill. So I was really doing a lot of like chest. It was like bench press and then lat pulls. And but it was all just work. It was all just work, and I would get out of breath. I mean, it was enough that I would get out of breath. I'd get super sweaty, and I'd have to shut the thing off and go back over to the truck and get a drink, So it was like it was all day, lowish intensity workout in the heat of the day, all 3 days. And I survived it. Now, I was exhausted at the end of every day, but now I go out and in 97 degrees, which we rarely get to run in that. I mean, we do break 100 degrees once in a while in Oklahoma. Well, every summer we break 100 a few days, just a small handful of days. But we've had this good string of. We had a lot of rain early in the summer, which made a lot of people's grass grow madly. Mine, no exception. Here at our house, it's like, was like, oh my God, I just mowed 2 days ago, and it looks like I didn't mow at all. So anyway, it's been a lot of work just keeping yards clean, mowed. But anyway, I was kind of wondering, am I gonna? I was kind of hoping, while I was out there working on the acre, hacking down all the grass, I was just like, this might help my running. In fact, on paper, it should. Anytime you do like a bunch of exercise like that, it should pay off. Anytime you're doing like a lot of long exercise, as long as you can recover and then you can get back out there and do it again and fully recover. I think that's the key, is you always have to fully recover and not kill yourself. You can't be breaking yourself down every day. And I thought that might be happening, but I wasn't really sure. But at the end of the deal, I was kind of like all relaxed and happy at the last part of that. And but anyway, so now I'm done with that, and now I'm back to running. And today, yeah, it was 97 degrees. In fact, not only did I feel okay coming up this hill on that third or fourth repeat, it actually didn't feel like 97. It almost, okay, usually 97 would just feel like a blast furnace, like you're standing in an oven. And because when Oklahoma is usually is considered kind of a windy state. Even when we have a breeze, when it's in the summer with I think it was 35% humidity when I started today, when I took off from the gym. And it's like, well, then it's the humidity's high enough that your sweat doesn't really evaporate very well, so it doesn't really have much of a cooling effect like it does in higher elevation climates, like in New Mexico and Colorado. Those places, your sweat actually evaporates and it does some good if you're standing out in the sun and it's hot. But here, it's usually it's like just a swamp. But anyway, I was going up the hill and I was like, why do I feel pretty good? I actually felt, I actually had this feeling of like I was springing up the hill. Like I actually had liveliness in my legs that I have not felt in a long time. And the actual air temperature on my face and my head and my upper body, I mean, it's full sun. I don't think there was a cloud in the sky. And I was being baked by the sun, but it didn't feel that bad. And in fact, it felt almost like there was a cloud in front of it. It felt like that's about what it was like. It was like a cloud had come over, but there was no cloud. It was still just as damn bright. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. I'm having a little breakthrough. But after that repeat, and I rested and I ran down again, that feeling kind of went away. So I didn't feel quite that good on the following ones, but I never felt terrible. And I even ran the last mile cool down. When I got done, so these were for the second and third mile. So 1 mile warm up and then 2 miles of fast running up or down the hill with a 1 minute walk in between. So when that got to be, my Garmin clicks over 3 miles, then I start running this way. And I'm not going for any pace at all. It's the cool down run back to work. And so it was a mile out there, so it's about a mile back. So I just ran, and however fast I kind of felt like running, I wasn't trying to hurry too much. There was a few spots, I have to cross Lincoln Boulevard here, and that's kind of a busy street, especially around lunchtime. All these government people are leaving to go to lunch or coming back from lunch, so, and it's like 3 lanes wide on each side. I think it's like 3 lanes. Anyway, I may have to, if there's kind of some traffic, it's not heavy traffic. It's not like a downtown busy rush hour type of thing, but I may have to sit there and wait a minute for a nice enough gap in the cars that I have to run. So I might have like ran really fast just to cross the street because I didn't want to wait any longer, and there's a car coming, so I had to beat it. So I may have done that a couple of times here, which you could kind of tell. No, I really the color would go red right there and then red again. Let's see, did I? Okay, yeah, here's where I sped up. Now, I did try to finish a little stronger. Now, here's why I sped up. This stretch here is pretty much all downhill. This is kind of higher elevation in the neighborhood. It's downhill from here to Lincoln, and then it's downhill from here back to where my workplace is at. But you can tell, yeah, it got orange. So I was probably running maybe 8 flat pace or maybe high 7 something through here, because it was like downhill and I'm just kind of coasting. But running downhill, is, if you're a runner, it's kind of hard to run downhill too. So, but I was just seeing it's 97 degrees. I should be feeling terrible and really gassing out. And it's like I was actually able to run constantly after doing my repeat hills. I was feeling not fresh, not like a spring chicken, but I was not having to struggle that much either. And I was even able to speed up and kind of work the downhill. So I'm going to kind of say this was kind of a hopeful breakthrough run today. And that's just kind of what I wanted to talk about today. And boy, did I turn this into a rambling freaking mess for 26 minutes. Is that right? Jeez, my knees. I'm sorry about that. Did I sit there and ramble about freaking running that long? Okay. It's probably this coffee. It's like I am kind of tired, and I'm not my usual kind of spry self at the moment. And I'm drinking coffee just before going to bed, which is stupid. This is a latte. Okay, now, this is one of my homemade lattes. I'm going to go ahead and make a little confession here. If I'm going to eat any kind of a carb, I was talking about this with a guy at work today. We've been having these retirement celebrations for people that are retiring. And there was one of those celebrations was today, and there was a bunch of cupcakes out. Vanilla carrot cake cupcakes. They looked absolutely beautiful. I was not even tempted. I'm like, I am not going to eat one of these and then get on a video and tell people I ate one. Because I would have to tell you. If I do a real blatant ass cheat like that, I'm going to tell you. And but anyway, I just would not. I knew I would not enjoy it enough to make it worth that kind of just, empty calorie carbohydrate sugar eating. So what I did, and I've probably mentioned it before, but I've got this hippie local Oklahoma bee honey jar of honey. So when I make these lattes, it's more often I don't do it than I do, but I will do about a tablespoon of honey in one of these in a big, so it's not overpoweringly sweet, not in this size. But yeah, I make a hippie whole milk, grass-fed, organic whole milk, and I do a strong coffee press, and then I blend it with one of these little hand blenders. Bzz, bzz. All right, I think that's about it. So that was a good, I definitely ran off those damn candy-coated peanuts I had. I don't know how many grams of carbs, but I was probably I'd already used that sugar up, I'm sure. But this was a good day. Now, I've got to go to bed and get up at 4:30, and maybe tomorrow morning might be a breakthrough constant speed run. And now, when I say speed run, I don't mean going fast, just at I would probably just run at a constant speed. No interval work in there. No fartlek, no tempo run, none of that. I think I'm just going to keep it a pretty even run. I mean, I may start out a little slow to warm up and then pick it up and then just try to hold a certain pace with my running partners in the morning, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah. I'll probably be a little bit sore from the hills today, but that's okay. You know, I used to run when I was sore. I would do a hard workout and I would still be able to push pretty good the next day. You know, like I say, no pain, no gain. That's how we did things back in the day. All right, Diet Rebel Scum and Diet Rebel Scum Curious. Thank you for watching, and let's make tomorrow another good low carb day. Catch you later.